Ms. Maria? Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, Ms.
Are there any new tests you know about for Alzheimer? Not psychological tests, but medical tests.
Medical tests for Alzheimer's?
Yeah.
You know, Alzheimer's, in reality, a lot of it is symptom-based in the beginning. They have questionnaires, just like certain neurobehavioral conditions for kids. I study a lot of kid conditions, ADHD, autistic spectrum disorder, and usually these things are questionnaires in the beginning. When you start to do MRIs and brain scans, when you start to see this area in the center of the brain called the hippocampus starting to get dark and more degenerative, that's when you're already losing a lot of cells. So ideally, when you start noticing, and we actually have questionnaires in the office for anyone who's coming in, wants me to give them a questionnaire. When you start to basically lose certain aspects of life, like doing things you did before, but it takes you a little longer time finding your keys to your phone. My wife can tell you my brain's starting to go at this age. Forgetting when you came in the room for no reason, and taking longer to do your job activities. All things that may relate to other conditions of the aging brain. And by the way, we're going to take more questions, but by the way, one other thing I wanted to ask of you guys. I love you all, my patients. I love everyone who's here. You're all family now. I got a big family. But for those of you who are patients who want to take advantage of any time to spend with me more, I love helping people. So the very last page of the packet is basically a symptom questionnaire. If you guys are comfortable, if any guests here would like to write down any symptoms they may be having, and basically by coming tonight, we offer an opportunity for help. Basically, if you chose to, we basically schedule a free exam and consultation at no charge to anyone who'd like to come in and get checked. Now, there's no strings attached. The goal is to take as much time from me as you need to get as much information as I can give you as possible. But we do an exam to see if your spinal health is optimal because we want the spine, which is part of our nervous system, to be optimal as well. So if you choose, you would write down any symptoms you may have. It's all confidential. And on the back of the sheet is a list of times that are available in the next coming couple of weeks. So circle any times you're available, and we'd love to see you in the office if you chose to. We do a free exam at no charge. If there's any more we can do on an individual level. Okay? And then more questions. I love questions. I think, Chandra, you had a question?
Yeah, you hear dementia, you hear Alzheimer's. What's the connection? Is dementia like a precursor, or is it separate from Alzheimer's?
Basically, dementia is a subset of Alzheimer's. There's a debate which happens first, like the chicken or the egg, but when you start to see these degenerative properties happen, basically, dementia is a much more severe form of Alzheimer's. You're not only losing the memory cells, by the way, you're also losing areas of your frontal lobes. Your frontal lobes is the newest, most powerful area of the brain that makes you humanistic, that gives you human function, executive decision making, thought processing, forethought, emotional empathy. Your frontal lobes and your inner lobes and the medial part of the brain help regulate. So with dementia, it affects more widespread areas, more cells are lost, and more symptoms and erratic behavior occurs. So a percentage of Alzheimer's patients have dementia, and it's a fairly high percentage. So as the condition degenerates, more and more possibilities of dementia can arise. Roxana?
So in our culture, we used to cook a lot with clarified butter, okay?
Oh, yeah, very, very good. A lot of nutrients in it. Oh, by the way, anyone else tonight, it's totally fine. We have this room until 8:30, but thank you so much for coming, and feel free to, the whole goal though is to make sure you're healthy. Back to your question?
So we used to cook a lot with clarified butter, but what they were finding was that there was a very distinct connection between the use of clarified butter and heart disease. So of course everybody dropped using clarified butter. Then came olive oil. Now the newer studies in olive oil are saying, well, if you let it smoke, it's not healthy, it causes cancer. Exactly. So it's not healthy to cook with olive oil either. But now more recently I've read studies going back to clarified butter. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I love the question, and this is where I have to be honest. I know a lot of olive oil. I don't know as much about clarified butter. That is one subject
It's
I know.
supposed to be very good for your heart.
Yeah, it's supposed to be good.
Yeah.
That's where I first, when you told me that, I was bad. I was confused because usually clarified butter actually
If you just had like half a spoon of clarified butter in it, it's awesome.
The more recent things I've read have been positive about clarified butter. I don't know what's called the mechanism of action. Whenever you have a nutrition or drugs, I like to research the mechanisms of how it works in the body. I know a lot about how the body processes, but once you know, I have to learn a little bit more about it. But olive oil, there's been really a lot of debate whether how much it takes to smoke the olive oil to cause actual cancerous properties. But generally, you do want to try to go at a reasonable level. That's why a lot of times when I use the skillet at home, and we cook on the stove top, we use more coconut butter than oil. So that's ideal. The olive oil has a lot of nutritional benefits. One thing I did not mention when it comes to diet, guys, when it comes to Alzheimer's, there's been a lot of studies with the Mediterranean diet having a very powerful effect on Alzheimer's and lowering risk, which they have a lot of these foods we talked about, natural foods, including olive oil. Okay, so that is the thing, but sometimes it's better to have a teaspoon or a tablespoon and just drink it, or to put it with any of your foods and drizzle on your salad, as opposed to cooking at high temperatures. But it really is, there's debate about how high that is and how much it is. But when it comes to things that you burn, in general, it's not good for you. I love the barbecue, and I was sad. I told my patients I didn't get the barbecue as much as I did this summer. But the more burnt, charred parts of the beef, the more cancerous that burnt part is. So definitely enjoy your barbecue, but try and clean off the burnt part. I'm sorry. But if 95% of your diet's good and you have antioxidants in your body, that takes care of free radical damage.
Well, the only thing I would like to add about the clarified butter is all I know is it has more short chain amino acids. I'm not an expert on that, but maybe meaning to something to you.
Well, I promise you, next time we do a lecture, if you guys come, I will look into this more and give you my take on it.
Everything's cooked in clarified butter.
But no, I have positive things. I saw I had a couple hands up.
Yeah, are you fine?
Well, I'll see you on your friend first.
Oh, I'm sorry. On the fat issue, I've been hearing lately about cholesterol not being caused by high cholesterol not being caused by high cholesterol foods. I
Yes.
think I heard you say that.
So
And
let's
can
talk
you
about that.
clarify that a little bit, because my understanding was that perhaps it was more sugar and carb-based causes?
Yes, this is such an important thing that we've done a lot better in the past 20 years, or I guess 10 years of really recognizing this. And we could give a whole lecture on this, there's written books about this. But the biggest thing to take home on cholesterol, dietary cholesterol, things that you eat that has cholesterol in it, does not necessarily increase your blood serum cholesterol, what they test for. It is a big misnomer. And part of where that came from was poor studies back in the 1930s to 50s, where they would actually take cadavers and look inside the blood vessels and see that they were lined with cholesterol. So the thought process was the more cholesterol foods we eat, the more it lines our blood vessels. And really, it's not that way. More of the problem is the refined sugars, the refined carbs, but also unhealthy fats. Not your cholesterol fats, but the stuff like McDonald's, the saturated, trans fats. Trans fats and sugars much more likely to raise cholesterol. Fat is a good thing, healthy fats. Lean proteins, eggs, nuts and seeds, avocados. Because one of the things actually, by the way, the nerve cells you guys saw in the video, your nerves are lined with fat. And you need that fat, and some of it comes from our nutrition because that actually insulates the nerves. Does anyone here have any more pain? Sometimes it's from the arthritis, but more pain when the weather changes, circulation changes. Your nerves actually are really poor at temperature changes. So your insulary part of the fat that lines it keeps them protected. But your healthy fats are really important. I can definitely go over the mechanisms of why, though, especially on an individual basis. But I want to show you all the questions. But basically, you do want less sugar. If there was any evil thing to take out of the diet, it's not that we don't want any sugar, but we don't want straight sugar, pure sugar. We need to break it down to more complex foods. And do you have a question? Or do you have a question?
Yeah, that question. What is chiropractic's approach to managing type 2 diabetes?
Well, the type 2 diabetes, again, it depends on the causes, all the factors. And that's some of these questions I love, but they're big questions because one of the things with Alzheimer's, by the way, there's different lists of things that have improved: the Mediterranean diet, exercise, sunlight, but also when you look at some of the research, they're talking about individualized medicine. What that means, individualized medicine, is not the actual medication, but an individual plan for every person, because there are different factors. With type 2 diabetes, a lot of it is lifestyle, with obesity being one of the biggest risk factors for type 2 diabetes. Type 2 is one that generally more people get when they get older. They'll take care of their insulin, their sugar, their blood pressure, and you're more likely to get that issue. But with type 2 diabetes, a lot of it is nutritional. Chiropractic can help a lot of things neurologically, but not so much for diabetes. It's more the nutrition around the body. But having a healthy digestive system is really part of an important piece. So when it comes to diabetic issues, you have to have healthy nutrition. Now those who, unfortunately, who have type 2 diabetes for a long, long time can get what's called diabetic neuropathy, where it can be so bad with the sugar, you can start to get radiating pain down the legs and hands. That is something that we deal with because part of it is the damage in the nerve that can sometimes be alleviated with what we do. But when it's been going on for so long, I have patients who improve a lot, but a lot of times what I see, unfortunately, when it gets so severe with numbness in the feet, usually they can feel better and have less pain, but usually the numbness can stay when it's been far too long. So if you ever are close to being type 2 or more, ideally pre-diabetic, that's when you want to really mount the most active things to take these tips here. These tips are for the brain, but the same thing helps with heart disease, diabetes, because we're not treating a condition, we're treating the function of our body. When we start thinking of symptoms and disease, we start thinking about how our body functions as a whole and how to optimize that function, then we're able to fight the disease and symptoms better. It's about the cause, not the symptoms. And did you have a question? I saw your hand up. Is it enjoy life? Good. Oh, I saw you had another question.
You had mentioned an author very early in the talks that really loved books, Amen.
David Amen, or Dr. Amen, Daniel Amen, or Amen, some people say Amen, Amen, potato title. But Dr. Amen, very, very good neurologist, has Amen clinics where they do a lot of research and things of this nature.
How do you spell that?
AMEN. Change Your Body, Change Your Brain are some of his books. You guys have a wonderful night. And then another very good book that I actually highly recommend is a book called The Grain Brain. Grain Brain is a really good literature about, when people wonder about gluten, there's a lot of fads in nutrition. Just like, it's been a while, but like 7 years ago, it was about acai berry or acai, I think I pronounce it, about this nutrient, that nutrient. So fads come and go, but gluten-free, that term is not a fad. We've known this for actually 20, 30 years now, but it's only finally being recognized in medicine that the more bread and the grains that we eat, the more it starts to slow our brain processes down. So a very famous neurologist named David Perlmutter has a book called The Grain Brain and a few new books since then that talk about the damage that causes. So now all the terms you learned tonight with neuroinflammation, degeneration will help serve you to other aspects of things you may learn in the literature. So use me as a guide, just this information as a guide, because I really want you to gain a lot of knowledge tonight and also carry it through to expand on that. And I'm going to cut it off here, but if you guys want to talk to me personal, I got one lovely woman here, one more question. Well, so I don't want to say anything negative or positive about any supplements on the market because I don't know who's watching. No, but Omega XL does get advertised a lot on television. I can definitely talk to you privately because I do have opinions about that supplement. Specifically, what's important about Omega-3 is that the supplement has to have enough of the key nutrients in it. As a quick note, because Omega-3 is one of my favorite topics, whenever you see, like I mentioned, a fat, like a label that says total fat, you know sometimes you go to a supermarket and see it says total fat, and it says the breakdown of saturated and monos and polys, but sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it just says total fats. The subcomponents of omega-3 are more important than omega-3. When you look at a supplement that says omega-3, underneath it should say two important components, DHA and EPA. DHA and EPA are the chemicals that they do in studies that shows how it reduces inflammation. EPA is the chemical component in fish oil that reduces inflammation in our blood and our heart, basically our circulatory system. DHA is anti-inflammatory for nerve and brain tissue. So it helps reduce inflammation in our blood and our brain. That's why I'm preaching, because it affects both these systems. Oh, that's right. So omega-3, it helps the brain and the blood, the two biggest parts of our nervous system, our systems that work together, but we need to have enough of it. So the thing is, a lot of supplements you'll see have very low amounts of the actual EPA and DHA. For the average individual, as just a baseline recommendation, if you have issues or conditions, it's a little different. But for the average American or any culture, you want to have 500 milligrams minimum in your supplement of EPA and 500 milligrams minimum of DHA. Good, work it out. All you guys exercise tonight. But 500 milligrams of each. Now, if you have a heart condition, you want to actually have more. You want to have 1,000 milligrams of EPA. If you have a brain condition or are concerned about brain health, you want to have a gram or 1,000 milligrams of DHA. So you look at a supplement that's like, oh, it's like $15 in Costco. It's amazing. It's so cheap. But it has like 100 milligrams. You have to take 5 times the dosage just to get what's called a therapeutic effect. It's very often when they do studies, they use more of the ingredient than is in the supplement that you see on the market. So that's where quality is key. So I'm happy to talk more about these things after the talk tonight. But thank you guys so much for coming. I love these questions.